to plan your day. The mountains are calling you out to play. Come on, we'll make you feel right at home. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail. Let's see what lies in store for you. There's so many things to see and do. Summer, winter, spring or fall. You're home in the Rockies as it all. So gear up, get ready to plan your day. The ideas are brewing, you're on your way. The fun is waiting outside your door. Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Hi, I'm Cece Zach, and this is Good Day Vail. And in this episode, I am so excited to bring to you a woman who has embraced all odds to become the first rocket scientist to climb 7 summits. She's also targeting the North Pole in order to create the Women's Explorers Grand Slam. And she eventually wants to be the first U.S. woman to complete the Adventurers Grand Slam. So there's the Explorers, there's the Adventurers, and then there's the 7 summits. And if you haven't guessed who this woman is, it's a woman who has defied all odds, chose to rise and defeat gravity. It's Meghan Buchanan. So stay tuned for this episode to learn about how we can be inspired by what she's doing and bringing it into our own lives. So we'll be right back.
Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Hi everyone, I'm Cece Zach and welcome back to Good Day Vail, and this is the Spotlight episode on Meghan Buchanan. And I'm just thrilled to have her here today because she's such an inspiration to any and all of us, but in particular women. So let's get right into it. And Meghan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure, and it's been so nice getting to know you as well.
Oh, thank you. It goes both ways. Goes both ways. One of the things that I love to share with our viewers is a little bit about why Vail. How long have you been here? You know, why did you come here, and why are you still here?
That is a great question, and we all have like such a strange little story, probably how we got here. I actually worked for an aerospace company down in Denver forever, and went to University of Colorado, so I'm from Colorado. And as most of us young professionals started making a little money, we decided to get a ski house up in Vail. And so I did that for years and years with friends. And then in my early 30s, I actually had a severe accident in the back bowls of Vail. Gorgeous powder day, going extremely fast on a tree line. Don't do that. And I hit a downed tree, and
This is everyone's fear. Any snow sports, it's everyone's fear.
Sweet Lord.
Yeah.
It threw me back. I thought I had hit an invisible Yeti. I didn't know what it was. And femur bone decapitated it off, completely spiral fractured it down, muscles ripped off. So lucky to be alive, thanks you to Vail Ski Rescue. and then was rushed to the hospital. Dr. Cunningham, my surgeon, woke up to a 14-inch titanium rod down my leg and told I would have a wheelchair or cane the rest of my life.
Oh my goodness.
And at that point, I was out. I had to take leave of absence from work, but that actually set my whole new life in motion. And I ended up moving to the Valley to completely dedicate to rehabilitation and work side by side with my physical therapists and with my doctors to get my mobility back. What we didn't know is I was allergic to the titanium rod.
Oh my goodness.
It ended up taking, but like Dr. Cunningham stuck with me.
When you say it took, did they had to replace it, or?
They actually did not have to. That is there meant to hold the bone back together, to fuse back together. It worked. In fact, the bone kept overgrowing.
Okay.
But there was such extreme pain 24/7, and my muscles would not grow back. And I was in intense physical therapy 3 days a week, and just kept this attitude of, we'll get there tomorrow. And this team, this Vail team, came together. And by the work of Thomas Olson, who was my physical therapist at the time, he's the one who really occurred to him I could have a metal issue, and there wasn't any test for it then. So working with Dr. Cunningham and with Dr. Olson and just dedicating my life to rehab, we figured it out, and Cunningham took the rod out, hoping, and after a year and a half of that being in there, I could not walk up a flight of stairs without a cane and a railing. We took it out. Within 1 month, I could go upstairs unassisted. And by this point, I had moved here. That is what brought me here. And then I fell absolutely in love with being here full time. And so then my work took me, then I took a remote jobs with a couple software companies so that I could stay here.
So before we get into your achievements, thank you so much for sharing that, because then you just made the leap to work. You are an aerospace engineer. How did you get involved with that? I love it.
I like to tell people too, I'm a middle kid with a learning disability, and so it made me very, very driven. But a big part of that is my father was such a role model in my life. He was a brilliant Rhodes Scholar to MIT. He worked in aerospace. I have an older brother, younger sister. We were doing chemistry experiments at 8 years old. I was programming a computer at 5, so it was just sort of in my upbringing. And but we did discover that I was dyslexic, so it was very difficult. So I think at that point then, it also became a goal that I wanted to achieve when everyone told me I couldn't. And I love the space program. I love aerospace, and so it became a determination for me. I was home sick in 6th grade, and that day I saw the shuttle explode. And
oh, wow. You're just bringing back memories of where I was. I was a little bit older than you, but I remember I was in school because I was living on the East Coast, and turning on the TV afterwards. Wow. What a milestone for you.
Yeah, I knew that the space program had resonated with me since I was a little kid, but it was that day that my brain just couldn't wrap around it. So my father came home from work and explained to me what had happened, and explained to me really what aerospace engineering was and how I could work to help prevent that in the future. And that was the day I decided that was what I was going to study. And took me a while to get that degree with dyslexia, but I did it. And then actually, I worked in spacecraft survivability for human spaceflight.
Spacecraft survivability. Yes. I guess I should have assumed that we have that, but that is extraordinary, which probably lends itself to help you figure out all of your fabulous achievements around survivability in the mountains as well.
Yes, so the mountains portion of it, and I know they're kind of in parallel, but they do intertwine. Because, again, as I said, I was diagnosed with being dyslexic at 7 years old. And my mother had taken me in, and they discovered it, and we're so sorry, Miss Buchanan, but your daughter is dyslexic. She won't achieve much academically. My mom sat me down and said, you can be anything you want to be. You are just going to have to work harder than everyone else, and that starts today. So we started on that journey, but the outdoors was my therapy, and that is where I felt normal. It's where I felt like I excelled. I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't ashamed. And it was time with my father, too. He loved the outdoors and mountaineering. And I could see that sparkle in his eye. He was so proud of me when we would go, and I would literally beat him up the hill. And so that's how the outdoors started for me.
Can I just make one comment? I just love that you said that your father was so proud of you beating him up the mountain, because there's a lot of fathers out there that get upset when their daughters beat them up a hill. And I think that is just such a wonderful tribute to who you are. And the tenacity and grit that you have. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, absolutely. But I think it is so important that parents really understand that how they talk to their children. I get teary every time. I am who I am today because of my parents. I mean, they taught me to stand up for myself. They taught me to believe in myself. They taught me to never give up on myself. But they had to pull me through that until I could stand on my own. And my father, when he explained to me engineering, and I do remember I said, well, I don't want to look like a boy. And he's like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He took me out of school, which I don't know if that's the best thing, but he took me out of school one day, and he took me to work with him to meet a female engineer that was just absolutely fabulous. And he was like, spend some time with my daughter. And I mean, so they were just such advocates of me and not letting my disability deter me.
So, for all you parents out there, heed to what Meghan is saying about just embracing the disability, because the thing that I love about you that you've taught me already is how you're giving back to your employers. And I know you do a lot of speaking engagements with your employers or on the outside.
Yes.
Share briefly about, the things that you like to share with women in these companies.
Absolutely, and it goes larger than just women, but corporations as well,
Yeah.
is learning how to not think of any learning differences as needing to be worked around, but actually embracing them into the culture fully. Because we have skills, we know how to dig in, never give up.
That's right.
We have such grit. We know how to look for ways around the way it's always been done. We've always had to look for other ways. And so there's such advantages that companies are really finding. And I now work for Raytheon Technologies, who is fully embracing with me and partnering with me to really get the message of inclusion and how to work with and foster women, learning disabilities, all sorts of aspects.
Wow, Meghan, it's just so overwhelming because corporations need that inspiration. So I look forward to talking to you a little bit in the next segment about that. But we're going to take a short station break. This is Cece Zach. I'm with Meghan Buchanan. This is Good Day Vail. And just learn from Meghan how she has chosen to rise, and think about it for yourself. We'll be right back.
Good day, Vail. Good day, Vail.
Hi, and welcome back to this edition of Good Day Vail. My name is Cece Zach, and I'm with Meghan Buchanan, who is just woman extraordinaire. And we're going to get into all of her accomplishments because I won't be able to do them justice. But Meghan, you have just blown up the trekking world, and I'd love for our viewers to know, and myself, how did you get started in this? I mean, we talked a little bit about the accident that you had, and when did you start trekking, and how did you keep it up after the boarding accident?
Yeah, and that is a good question. So again, it's always been a part of my life, and it was my dad's and my thing to go to do. I actually climbed Kilimanjaro the first time with him.
How
when
old were you then?
I was 29.
Wow.
Yes.
God, I would love to do that with my dad.
Yes,
God rest
it
his soul.
it was absolutely amazing, and unfortunately, he passed away from an accident 3 years later, and so it's such a strong memory for me. But so I did, the 14 years in Colorado. I lived here. We go do cute things like Machu Picchu or Mount Fuji.
By the way, I am going to Machu Picchu. I'm glad that you've coined it cute. I'm going now that they reopened it, but I'll be going this fall. So.
Yeah, the Inca Trail is amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. And so after the accident and being told that my life would be limited, it instantly became a carrot out there for me, something to focus very hard on to get through the pain of recovery. And I had also been to Everest Base Camp. I had a group of friends going again, and so I really focused on, I want to return to trek to Everest Base Camp. And it was a 2-year period from my accident from when I went. So when they took the rod out, within 1 month I could go upstairs. Within 6 months, I returned and did Everest Base Camp. And what I realized at that time is that I had grown so strong mentally, emotionally, and my tolerance for pain was at an all-time higher level because of everything I went through. So I was like, I want to do Kilimanjaro again.
I have to mention, it truly is mind over matter. You have just helped me recognize, when you put your mind to a goal, something you want to achieve, and you kind of wipe away the belief of pain.
Yes.
You can really start to move forward. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think when you're, especially, so many people here in the Valley know from our surgeries, our breaks, when you're in a long duration pain, and you almost become numb to it. So you can right there, it trains you to think and move through pain. And that's actually a really helpful tool to have. And that comes along with anything you're going through life. climbing a mountain. And so, yeah, it is so important. So much of mountaineering is the mental. You've got to be able to quiet the voices saying you can't, you won't, you're not good enough. And that's for life and everything in general as well. And so quieting those voices and be like, I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro again. And I did, and I wanted to be at the top for sunrise, for my father's spirit to meet me there. He was on the mountain with me. And it was easy. So I decided I want to go do something higher. So I decided Aconcagua, which is the highest peak in Argentina, South America, 23,000 feet. And I did that, and it was a great challenge, but it was easy. And so
for our viewers, where is Aconcagua?
So Aconcagua, I know.
Say that 3 times
you
fast.
only learn how to say it once you've been there.
Yeah, okay, well,
I know.
Count me out on that one.
So
but
Aconcagua is in Argentina, in South America. And I met a wonderful woman who that was her 7th summit. And so I was dumbfounded and like, okay. And she just gave me some advice. And she's like, start training your technical skills and then go for Denali. And if that's great, you can do Everest. And at that moment, I already knew I was building on this whole thing of grit to help share with other people of how mind over matter and pain. Because of everything through my life, I had been with a learning disability, a severe accident. I had honed in on these key elements of how to push past any obstacle.
So I have to say, for our viewers, you have a double G grit. Can you just say what the acronym stands for?
Absolutely. So it is gratitude, growth, resilience, integrity, and tenacity. And I've boiled down, those are the 5 components that I've lived by my entire life that have helped me keep motivated, keep taking one more step, and keep getting the work done and doing the work. Because that is important. You have to be willing to dig in and grit it out. And so these key components came together, and that is when I set my mind on, I am going to do the 7 summits. And then I added on, why stop there? I'm going to add on the last degree ski to the North and South Pole, and then finally the full ski as well.
So let's, for the viewers, the 7 summits and the 2 poles is the Grand Slam.
It's called yes, it is the Grand Slam, and there's the Explorers Grand Slam and the Adventurers Grand Slam. And of course, the 7 summits is the highest peak on every continent. And so that includes Everest. For North America, that's Denali in Alaska. And then we also have Vinson in Antarctica, Kosciuszko in Australia. And that one can be flipped with Karzant's Pyramid in Indonesia, but right now you cannot get into Indonesia for civil unrest. As well as for Russia is the highest in Europe, and that's Elbrus. And we can't really get in there right now either. So there's a lot of geopolitical things that happen with these adventures as well. So the Explorers Grand Slam then is the last degree ski to the North and South Poles.
Okay.
So that's from 89 degrees to 90 degrees, which is 60 nautical miles, about 70 miles, pulling an 80 to 100 pound sled behind you, self-supported, as you go through the Arctic and Antarctic tundra.
And in December of 2022, you became the first rocket scientist to climb these 7 summits.
The first aerospace engineer to climb these 7 summits. And I got someone writing me like, well, what does engineering have to do with climbing the 7 summits? I'm like, what does anything have to do with climbing the 7 summits? Right. Because we can. And it's really, again, it's another thing of inspiring people to look outside what they think their everyday life has to be and push them to follow your dreams and reach your full potential. We all, remember when we were little kids? I want to be a mommy and an astronaut and a baker and we don't have to limit ourselves. We can fulfill all these different parts of our personalities.
So what climb did you have your biggest epiphany, and what was that epiphany?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. So I had to do Everest twice. The first time we were on the mountain for 7 weeks and ready to go for summit bid, but the Delta variant of COVID.
7 weeks. Okay,
7 weeks. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to climb. There's this advanced program.
Yep.
It's from doing rotations and acclimatizing.
Oh, okay.
Which is important for your brain.
Yes.
And so we were ready for summit bid. 2 cyclones had gone by. It was a horrendous year, 2021. All of our Sherpa got COVID. And I was I was sitting there and my brain was reeling. And in fact, my brain was starting to go with, well, maybe I could climb Lhotse. Maybe I could, and my brain is just like spinning so fast of how do I fix this? How do I fix the impossible? How can I be better than I am? And I said that to myself. I said to myself I wasn't good enough. And it was that point that my voice came back and said, Meghan, you are climbing Everest right now. If you're not good enough for yourself right now, when will you ever be?
Wow.
And I
Oh
just
my
said,
God, I
know.
got goosebumps on that one.
And I was like, I was talking to myself, I'm like, you have got to get a hold of yourself. This is enough. Look at how far you've come. If you cannot be good enough for yourself now, this will never happen. So right now, you're good enough for yourself. And I was just crying in my tent, and I was so happy, and everyone's so devastated that our trip was canceled after all that work. And I have to tell you, I was like, it's okay, I'll come back next year. Because I had already learned my lesson from that trip.
Oh my gosh.
It was amazing. I know.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful. And we have to start believing in ourselves. When you have got to start believing in yourself.
So knowing that that's your epiphany, and knowing that you have this phenomenal philosophy of how you live your life through grit, how do you want to give back once you achieve all that you want to summit?
And I don't even have to give back once I achieve, because I started speaking to schools about engineering and learning disabilities when I was in college. I have always felt so grateful for what my parents gave me. I want to give that to kids growing up and also encourage.
So you've been doing it all along.
I've been doing it all along, but now really the grit portion of it, it transcends, hey, kids getting into STEM or that kind of thing. It does speak so much to women. I did a talk in Silicon Valley to women who are master's degrees, PhDs, not about knowing their worth, because I know they know their worth, but actually living
it.
their worth,
Yeah.
because that's a whole nother step. And all the women are like, oh yeah, I am not, am I? And it's also then, and it's not just for women then, it's for everyone. Because everyone suffers from that doubt, that imposter syndrome.
That imposter, absolutely.
Men, everyone. Yep. And so really speaking to corporations, to groups, catering the acronym of GRIT, that gratitude, growth, resilience, integrity, and tenacity, it applies to everything and everywhere. And it's such, I'm so excited to be able to share that message, and just a tiny click in someone's brain of the next time they're out trying something, and when that little voice is like, no, let's just give up, and then being like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and take another step. Worth it, like right there.
That and using your voice, which you had mentioned to me before. Meghan, I think that you and I could talk for days. I can't thank you enough for being. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, over coffee.
Yeah, there we go. Or we'll do another episode on grit.
It.
But just thank you so much for coming in. And for all of you that would like to follow Meghan on her next trail, she is leaving shortly to go to the North Pole. And on the screen, you will be seeing her contact information through social media and others. And let's all think about grit for ourselves, and let's think about how we can internalize that in a way that we can also give back to others. And again, you're going to do it, girl. You've got to go, and I can't wait to hear about your next phase of your career post these goals. So thank you for joining us on Good Day Vail. I'm Cece Zach with Meghan Buchanan, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.
On your way, the fun is waiting outside your door. Good day, Vail.